Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today, we're talking about The Way of the King by Brandon Sanderson. Do not worry if you have not read the book. I will be avoiding spoilers. I'm going to give a general overview and try to only give examples that are found either in the first chapter of the book or in the back of the book. So, the book was released in 2010 and is the first book in a series called the Stormlight Archives. Even though the book is the first of a series, I feel like it does an incredibly good job of giving closure. The four main characters each have their own arcs, and the arcs come to a pretty good point, either kind of explaining whatever, resolving the conflict, or going to a good chapter or break where, the next arc or next evolution of that storyline would continue. And with there being four characters, most likely there's going to be at least one you find interesting or that you connect with. And each part follows 2 to 3 characters. There are interludes in between. The interludes are fantastic because they use one off characters, like a chapter that just kind of explores an area of the world or an idea of the world that may not be explored with the main characters, giving you a larger sense of the world. And the book also does a good job establishing that the world has a history to it, giving it kind of some age and some depth. Now, it is a fantasy book, but you're probably wondering what makes it a fantasy book. Well, there's these creatures called Spren, and they are attracted to emotions or elements like fire. And I think it's really interesting how the book kind of explores if you could see these things, how that would change the world and your understanding of it. The book is characterized as low fantasy, in my opinion, as there are very few magic items, and there are even rare people that can directly use any sort of magic without the need of a magic item. And probably only like 1% of the population even has access to magic items, and even fewer that any of the really crazy powerful ones. Most of the magic items in the book are kind of common, like if in the D&D sense, common. Like, for example, there's like one that just keeps an area room temperature, and the ones that are like really cool and extreme are like super, super, super rare, and people are like actively fighting over them. It's not like a thing that's super common. I think the book also does an incredibly job kind of keeping the world very alien. It draws a lot of inspiration from the ocean, and it takes a lot of very common animals that you would see in traditional fantasy, such as horses and oxen, and kind of replaces them with these weird crab-like monsters to give you that really like different alien feel. Additionally, the book does a really good job at taking social norms to kind of a unique place. I think they take a lot of things to a rather extreme to kind of make you maybe think about like how absurd that is. And then when you kind of reflect on what we do in the real world, you kind of realize how absurd a lot of our social norms are within our own culture. And I feel like the book does a pretty good job at kind of challenging some of the beliefs that are accepted within the world via characters that are from other areas of the world that don't follow those social norms. And I think that can kind of make you yourself reflect on, what you've come to accept and understand. I really like this book and I would highly recommend it. Some of my favorite parts of the book are the sassier characters. There is some banter in this book that actually like made me laugh out loud, like really gave me a good chuckle. Like I had to stop reading for a minute because I was laughing so hard. And it kind of comes out of nowhere because I would say for most of the time it's a frankly serious book. I wouldn't say it's overly comedic, but, man, there's some real bangers in there. If you're like me and you kind of enjoy the kind of banter style humor, kinda like the sassy, satirical kinda takes on things, you'll have a good time with this book, and if you don't like that, there's plenty of other stuff in the book for you. They have characters that are soldiers, they have characters that are scholars, there's some love interest. It's got a little bit of, I think, something for everybody, and I think even if you typically don't read fantasy books, this book might still be really interesting to you just because of how grounded it is, despite the fact that it is a fantasy book. A lot of the conflicts and issues in this book are very, very real and can be drawn parallels to real life very easily, making it a really good read, a really good way to kind of reflect on the world around us and kind of challenge some of that stuff without it being too grating as it's not real, when it's coming from a fantasy world. I think people are a little bit more accepting of pointing out how absurd something is, and maybe they might grow or realize how our real world equivalents are maybe just as silly, maybe should be challenged in the same way. But yeah, I really like the book. I'm hoping to read the next one soon. It's I've ordered it at the time of recording, and hopefully by the time that this video comes out, I will be actively reading it, and I will make another one of these videos once I finish the second book, as well as probably another video if I finish the third book, and then I'll do like maybe a whole series kind of review of what I thought of the whole series as a whole. I understand that there is like a like a little book that explores a side character or something outside of the main 3 books. I might read that one as well if people, recommend it online. But yeah, I mean, personally, I'm really into ocean-based stuff, water-based stuff, and, storms and all that. Those are all, like, 3 things I really like in my fantasy, and those are, like, the kinda character archetypes that I'm typically drawn to as a player when I play, fantasy-based games or, tabletop RPGs. So this book was kind of an obvious recommendation for me, and so someone did recommend it to me, and I've been reading it and really having a blast with it. And I've never heard of this author or this series before starting reading it. So I just wanted to share it, and hopefully, maybe some of you might be similar to me and kind of enjoy water based stuff. Or maybe you're just looking for a fantasy book and you haven't heard of this. This could be a good place to start. It's about 1,200 pages. I don't think it's too difficult to read. Personally, I'm not a particularly strong reader, but I think I'm able to read it just fine. I know I'm a lot slower than probably the average person, so it's going to take me a lot longer to get through this than many of you will. So some of you that watch this video and pick up the first book will probably read the first and the second book before I finish the second book. But hey, it is what it is. Bear with me and be patient, and hopefully I'll keep making videos on this series as I finish the books. Thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, but don't comment any spoilers. Please, we want to keep this a spoiler free zone. I won't read any of the comments most likely just because I don't want to be spoiled. So I apologize. I'm usually pretty active in the comment sections, either giving hearts if it's something positive or replying if it's a question or some sort of feedback that I think warrants a reply. If it's just something nice, I usually just give it a heart. But yeah, please don't put any spoilers in there. I really don't want anyone that hasn't read the book to have any reason not to read the book, because I really enjoyed it, and I think you will really enjoy it if you give it a go. About $13 new I found online, but you can probably find a used copy for cheaper. And because it's an older book, a local bookstore will probably have it on sale for much cheaper. So again, the reason not to check it out, please check it out, and thank you for watching.